conversation. It's the conversation. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Let's go. Let's go. No filter, no restrictions. You about to get my opinion in its purest form. So my words, don't try to spin them. What I said is what I said. And what I said, I meant it. The gloves are off now when I'm coming out swinging. So engage in verbal combat, but you better be ready. Cause this here for me is light work, even if the topic's heavy. I'm ready for it all with no running from nothing. You just take the time to digest what I put in, no rushing. But time is moving, don't waste it. You want the real, come and face it. Come sit and talk to me if you want it straight without a chaser. And it might burn a little when you step on up to taste it. But it's nothing harsh, I promise. Just a little conversation.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the conversation with Harold and Dave. Welcoming you all back. Everybody say hello to Cello, our guest today, and our host, Dave.
Hey,
Hello.
embodied voice of Keone,
All right,
actual host.
we do not have Harold with us today. He debated with Josh in our first part episode. Episode 16 last Wednesday, and now we have the bigger fish. Harold's going to kick me for that one. The bigger fish today. So. No one's taking sides. Again, I have to always explain this. Dave is not a Democrat. Okay. Dave, we're going to start off this debate by you explaining. You did it on TikTok the other day because I've noticed on TikTok you get accused of being a Democrat all the time. Could you please explain to people what you are, Dave, and why you have the stances that you have? Oh, Dave has crapped out. So we're going to wait till he comes back. Cello. Well, there he goes. Dave is back.
Yeah, I'm in Maine. Well, first of all, I'm in Maine and using Skylink, so thank you,
Uh-huh.
Elon. Ed, I assume you're asking me to declare my thing. I am traditionally a Rockefeller Republican. I grew up in a family that was Republican, Wall Street Republican. My grandfather worked on Wall Street, was actually fraternity brothers with Nelson Rockefeller. So really, we were Rockefeller and a half. And my father worked on Wall Street as well for Equitable Insurance. And I grew up, uh, very, very, a Rockefeller Republican is fiscally conservative, socially liberal, and it refers to Nelson Rockefeller, who was, Gerald Ford's vice president, et cetera, governor of New York, et cetera. My thing is, though, I have traditionally been in between. I'm not registered for either party. I consider myself to be centrist, maybe even a little right of center on most issues. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to choose who I'm going to vote for a few election cycles. It used to be, really the last time I made a choice was Romney versus Obama. I gave Romney a fair consideration on that. So that's what I am. Obviously, very critical of Trump. Uh, I have a PhD. It's hard to find PhDs that aren't critical of Trump.
All right, settle down, settle down. Cello, go
No,
ahead and
that's
give
a
us a little bit
subjective
of
statement of
your.
facts. I'm sorry.
Go ahead and give us a little bit of your background, Cello.
So I'm an MD. Sorry, I'm not PhD, but I hope it can meet your expectations.
I'd be
Uh,
glad to switch paychecks.
so originally from the South America, it is Argentina. So I have a lot of experience when it comes to a little bit of the left side of governments. I in a year or so, I'm going to be 50-50. So 50%, I was born and raised and lived in Argentina. And then 50%, I came to this beautiful country of opportunity. I'm an American citizen and I love this country, the best in the world. So
Okay.
that's a good introduction. In regards to politics,
Mhm.
I'm not registered. I don't consider myself either a Republican or the Democrat.
Mhm.
Although in my youth, in my young years, I kind of was flirted with the romantic ideas of, more on the left. But as soon as I started, getting my own stuff earning my own stuff with the effort. So, in other words, I started more going towards the right. So I'm more everything that has to do with freedom and everything. I'm in it.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that introduction, Cello. So we're just going to dive right out the bat. The biggest one, and Cello, gratefully you were on the episode when we did this one. The biggest hot button issue that we're going to start with, and it's a basic question. Who do you feel is going to have better policies and help the immigration issues in America? We'll start with Dave.
Well, I think when we look at this issue, Democrats are late to the party, right? Democrats, I think, for a long time reacted to immigration as Trump used it as a wedge issue, right? Since 2016, coming down the elevator, it was presented as murderers, rapists coming into our country, right? And
He
for a
was right.
long time, Democrats rejected the issue on face value. And we're looking at a time in the Biden administration after COVID, after he took over, we did in fact have this surge of immigrants, and so Democrats are late to the party, but they are now taking it seriously. They're like, no, this actually is a problem. And they, for whatever reason, maybe sending all those migrants in buses actually had an impact. I don't want to say that, but they now do. And what they did is they went and they said, all right, let's have legislation. Let's fix the problem. And they let Chuck Langford, a Republican from Oklahoma, who was, acknowledged to be kind of the expert, kind of the leading proponent on the right for immigration reform. They said, hey, Chuck, let's talk about what you need to do. Basically, made him take yes for an answer and crafted immigration reform. And so that stands now as a bipartisan fix to many problems. Border Patrol agents, reforming the critical thing is reforming the asylum procedures, right? And and that's huge because people come to this country, claim asylum, they can come in, and the courts take so long to hear their case that they can live for over a year in the country, and if they get deported, well, so what? We made a lot of money in the meantime, right? And so by increasing those courts, this would be a fix. And so this is a bipartisan, Chuck Langford approved plan. And that plan, whoever passes that is going to be there. Now, we didn't get it. It didn't pass. So Kamala Harris said she's going to do it, and I think that that plan is the best thing we've got. On the other side, if I, so that we can take that plan as being what Kamala Harris would do. You have to ask, what would Donald Trump do? Would Donald Trump come in and pass this plan? Or is he going to come in and put mass deportations? Because that's what they're talking about. They're talking about doing mass deportations from the United States. Estimates there are about $88 billion a year to do even half of what they want to do, even a portion of what they want to do. It's going to turn it back into a wedge issue. Democrats will never support that. That will never pass. If so, you got to ask yourself: is Donald Trump going to come in and pass this bipartisan legislation that's ready to go, or is he going to come in and add poison pills to it, like the wall and the other thing? Um, I think whoever passes that bill, gets that bill through, that's the better way to go. It's common sense. It's bipartisan. It's how you fix things. And so whoever passes that bill has the better plan. And I'll leave it to everyone to decide whether it's more likely that Kamala Harris is and the Democrats are going to, in a bipartisan manner pass it, or whether Trump would get it done.
Okay, sorry to cut you off there. We got to get to Cello's answer. Cello, you first, do you want to answer, or you had some reactions to things that Dave was saying? So you want to react to those first, or
Well,
let's go to your
a
answer?
little bit of both.
Mhm.
So, first of all, well, I'm an immigrant, so I have, some subject matter in the topic. I've been an immigrant. I went through the regular process. It took us 10 years to get the green card, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we did it the right way. Now, this immigration problem and the need for a reform has been postponed since the Clinton era. So I came here to this country 28 years ago, and there was already conversations about needing a immigration reform. So that was, kind of pushed over to the Bush. Then every government had to deal with it. There were attempts, mostly what I read or heard about was kind of amnesties to kind of start all over, but nothing happened. So both the Trump administration and the Biden administration so kind of inherited this issue. Now, the problem right now, the way I see it is that this problem of immigration, because of just the matter of opposing to whatever Trump was doing, so created a much bigger problem, and there's no way to deny it. Now, you're talking about a reform, which I agree it's needed, but what we need right now is something that Biden could have done in closing the borders. So the problem didn't get much bigger. Now, I completely understand that we need a reform that needs to be bipartisan, that needs both the reform that it's needed since like 20 years ago or so. But first, we need to fix the problem. And the only way to fix a problem is to stop the bleeding. Now, yeah, and that means, nobody likes the word deportation. Nobody likes the word, sending people back. Now, you started your statement, David, saying that Trump was saying that criminals and another, psychiatric terrorists will come in. He wasn't wrong. Look at the last statistics that were given by the DOJ a week or so ago. So, like 400,000 illegal immigrants who have any kind of criminal background outside prior to coming or inside. So, what he referred was, okay, you're opening the borders, you're gonna you're gonna open the faucet, and you're gonna, yeah, some good people like myself that wanted to come and have a better life, all right, to live in this country, but also you're gonna get a lot of the other people that you don't want.
Okay.
So bottom line is that I think, and this is historic in this way, we have records. So whenever we are thinking in voting for Trump, there's a record of not only immigration but economy, everything, every big policy, every big topic that we want to get fixed. We have a record how we were, during those years. And then also, although she wants to deny it, she was Kamala Harris, was part of this administration. So this is historic. They're going face to face, and we have records of both.
All
So no
right.
matter how you want it, you can hate one or hate the other, but the records speak for themselves.
All
The
right. Before
record
we
does
go,
not
hold
speak
on,
for
hold on,
itself.
hold on, Dave. Dave, hold on. Before, because we have people making comments. Before we get to your response, a couple things we want to
All
go
right,
over
fine.
is statistically, immigrants commit a small percent of crime compared to domestic people who live here. That's one. The numbers that were given out by the DOJ is over a long period of time. This is not a year or two.
40
Someone put
years.
that out. And then the other thing is The appropriations bill that was separated from the border bill that was going to be passed in Congress, it has been confirmed. They have the articles that have been sent that Donald Trump also called members of Congress to suppress the bill. But I'm not going to blame that on Trump. Presidents have done that in the past, especially if they think they're going to get elected the next term, because why have something passed on someone's term that you can have passed on your term? So that's a whole different debate, but some
Yeah.
people want to throw that out there. Your response, Dave, to what
Well, no,
Cello
your people just hit on a lot of these things. That one, first of all, the problem we've got is currently, right, is asylum seeking, right? This is the loophole. This is how people are coming into the country. The surge in immigrants is people coming in and claiming asylum and overwhelming the system. And we have due process that we go through. And, these asylum seekers are the folks that are in the country, and that's the backlog. So, with all due respect, were you an asylum seeker when you came to this country?
No.
Because that's a different process that you went through. And it's a process that is broken because they have overwhelmed the resources. And the only way to solve that problem is to fix it, to fix the system, to put the resources in, enough Border Patrol agents to police the border, enough staff to process these claims. These are big fixes, and they can't be accomplished by executive order. They can only be accomplished by legislation. And this is how the Democrats chose to do it. They chose to go the route of legislation and law because Biden felt that an executive order was not appropriate, that he wanted legislation. When he didn't get the legislation, he did, in fact, put the executive order in because it was second best. And could he have done it earlier? I suppose so. But when we look at the record is not the same. The record is, these ideas that everything is better under Trump was, doesn't hold up to scrutiny, right? And so to make broad claims that everything was better is, on the face of it, to be disingenuous.
No, with all due respect, too, I never said that things were better. Now, you mentioned that this.
You said on
No,
all the big issues, the record under Trump, we can compare it to Kamala
no,
Harris,
no, no.
and that
I'm not
implies that
claiming.
it
I'm
was better.
saying that the records are showing that. If I could claim and that I put my emotions into, I'm not trying to. But you mentioned something. You said that the system is overflown, correct?
Yes,
Why?
because there are not enough courts, there are not enough administrative, the apparatus, there's not enough bureaucracy to process the asylum claims of people who are coming in.
When
And the
when
law,
this when did the system start to be overflown? 4 years
under
ago.
it started under Trump.
4 years
And
ago.
it peaked very much. We had an increase in asylum seeking under Biden.
So that's the problem, David, and it's not your problem. Is that if you think that you need to fix a problem, you have to acknowledge the problem, and you have to acknowledge the reasons and the causes of the problem. So I don't disagree that we need a reform, but at the same time, listen, it's not my interpretation. It's the numbers. So if you have somebody said 20 million, somebody said 10 million. It doesn't matter what the truth is, but let's say if you have in 10 million more illegal immigrants coming
We
to the
don't.
country, and therefore, creating a problem to the system. What was the reason? When did they start coming? And there's a clear reason there. So first, we need to
Dave
fix
just stated it.
what we broke, and then think long term on how to do these asylum seekers to have system to
Okay,
have.
question.
Yes.
Question, because both of you have a different point of where you're saying. Someone brought up that when it was broke. Cello is saying it was broke during the Biden administration. You were explaining that it was broke during the Trump administration. So to unconfuse people out there, and they also said, can we not use generic terms? So they want to know, and either one of you can go first, pinpoint exactly when you're saying this was broke under each administration. If you can. If you can't, we can move
Sure,
on to the
sure.
next.
I can defend what I said about broke. I believe that the system was broken even before Trump. The problem is that when you have a system that it's broken in the sense that you don't have enough resources to take care of, in this case, the immigrants coming to the country, either whether you don't have enough police officers to secure the border, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When you kind of open the floods to let more people come in, so the problem that you're having with the system is actually overexposed. And that's what I mean by it. I don't say that it was fixed when Trump was there. I'm not saying that it was completely broken with Biden. What I'm saying is that the problem was even worsely exposed because of the open the gates and letting more illegal
I
immigrants.
think I think that's what people are having a problem with when they say close border and open the gates. Common people are thinking there's just a gate that swings open and legal immigrants just come pouring in. The count on illegal immigrants is mostly asylum seekers because those are the ones who are counted. Illegal
And they are not
immigrants.
illegal.
Hold on.
Let's be
Uh,
clear.
I'm gonna let you clarify that. Illegal immigrants aren't counted because there's no one at the border with the clicker counting how many of them walk in. So there's never an accurate account of how many people are coming here illegally. It's just someone's estimation. But the asylum seekers are the ones who are actually counted. That was from, I can't read the name. It's a economist something. But go ahead, Dave.
Well, and that's a key thing. Asylum seekers, we had a peak before COVID. Under Trump, there were it's like over like 48. I'm looking at it now. It's 48,900 in 2019.
Well, that number
It went
did go
down.
down during
It
this after
pandemic.
COVID, yeah.
There were
We had to close.
pandemic related restrictions,
Mhm.
and after some of those were lifted, we got, and also there's a perception that Biden is going to be more open. That's definitely part of it, right? It would be ridiculous to pretend it isn't. The numbers we're talking about here are tens of thousands of people a year. Okay, not millions, right? There are 11 million people in the country undocumented. That's the number we're talking. The number of asylum seekers is being wildly over portrayed in the media, and it is tens of thousands, but it is higher, and it is overwhelming the system. The laws that govern your ability to come to this country and claim that you are in fear for your life and that you want to be let in, or that you are, in some way fear there, and there's different things they can do. But people come, they claim that, and we have a law that says people that show up claiming to fear for their life, we let them in. That's a law. And when they get here, we have to we have to follow that process. We do not have enough resources to process all of those claims at the level that they currently are. And they were hot. They peaked under Trump. They went down during the pandemic. They went back up under Biden. And so this is a new reality, and we need to fix that. And like I say, the the bill that Chuck Langford put together basically is a long-term wish list for immigration reform. And whoever passes that will actually solve the most immediate problems. It doesn't reform the whole system, but it will solve the immediate problems.
Trevor on Twitch says it is amazing how much faster your taxes are done when they hire more tax preparers. I mean, I don't know if that's what you're saying in simple terms, Dave, but that's what Trevor Trevor said. Norman on Twitch says, I think that the Biden and Kamala Harris administration was incredibly weak on immigration and the border. You can state that the border numbers went down because of COVID. That's true, but the numbers went back up. And then Jermaine replied, yes, the numbers went back up under Trump. They got higher under Biden and they went down. No one has solved this problem, and there's no reason to think one is going to solve this problem more than the other, except that one wants to do an executive order and one actually wants to work it through legislation. And through legislation is how a president should operate.
But again, it depends on if you have a problem that you need to fix right now. Hey, look at all these people that now are experiencing the storm, right? Let's say the storm comes through. I had a storm 2 weeks ago here, right? Everything was flooded here in the Wilmington.
Oh wait, that's our next question. Hold on.
Right. Hold on. But what I'm trying to say is, let's say your house is damaged. You have, the door is broken. All right. So I'm going to think how I'm going to renovate my house, or first I need to fix the door so I don't get more water coming in. And to lock the door, well, I have to make myself an executive order. I have to stop that, close, fix the door, and then I'll think how I'll renovate and the house, the damages, and moving forward, I may add another room if I have the means to. But there has to be something done to stop. And now, again, records show that the increase in illegal immigrants, and again, the trick that JD Vance, revealed during the debate. When I was seeking a green card, I started my process. I couldn't work here until I actually got my green card. So in a way, it was illegal for me to go and try to work here because I started the application, I started the process, is not making me legal. And that is what it's being done these days. You just apply for asylum and then you cannot be called illegal immigrant. No, you don't have the rights still. I mean, there has to be a full vetting process to know whether, yeah, the way I had it, and it took 10 years for me, that I didn't commit crimes, that I was paying my taxes, that I knew the Constitution, that I knew the history here, I had to pass exams and all that. These people get here, go into the app, apply for asylum, they're not illegals anymore. Come on, give me a break.
No, that's the law,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the law. There is a law that says they get to come in. We have passed a law, and that is our legislation. And if you presidents cannot waive the law, you cannot by executive order get rid of a law. We do not have dictators.
No,
It's
I'm
a
not saying that.
democracy or
I'm not
constitutional
saying that.
republic, if you wish, but you have a law, and people have found a way in that we have a law that very sensibly says, "Hey, if you fear for your life, you can come in,"
So
because
so we have
we don't like
democracy.
what
Democracy like we
Hold on.
have democracy like the way that Kamala Harris was elected to be the
that's irrelevant and obfuscating. We have a law passed by
why
Congress,
why
enacted by the duly elected government of the United States. A president cannot waive that law, right? And now the resources, that law is being used, and you can complain about it. You can say, hey, these
no
people
no
are coming in, but they are not illegal. They have a status. And until we fix the law, right? And this is the thing. It's a law. You're saying, oh, if your door blows off, you got to fix the door. Well, I'm telling you, the problem is in the law. The law sets up this procedure that people can take advantage of, that we are not able to administer in a way, and they found a loophole.
Right,
And if you
right,
don't
right. I'm not
fix it,
talking
and the
about.
only way you fix a law is with a law. And the
Right.
Marcus,
legislation,
I completely agree, and I'm not saying that executive orders should
right.
uh, reject what the law is. The executive order is to close the border. There was a
what does
wall
that mean?
being constructed. All
There's a
right, the
question.
wall stopped. Now they want to start rebuilding the wall.
I have three comments
There's
from
no
I need
wall in
to,
this. There's
right.
never, we haven't even, there's no wall in any of this.
I have three comments to read real quick. Jessica says people always point out the presidents and they keep forgetting there's this thing called Congress that the president is not in charge of. Second person, Marcus says Americans always talk about don't infringe on my rights, but when someone else gets a right by way of law, we want to infringe upon it. And I cannot read that name because it's in Mandarin. Um, Sorry, I cannot read that name because it's in Mandarin, and I'm not sure of what that comment says. So go ahead and re put that in there. And then Megan says, I am not a fan of people trying to use executive orders to subjugate Congress. What's the point of having a Congress and what's the point of having laws if we can just arbitrarily just dismiss them because someone's feelings are involved? My two best friends in the military were born from illegal immigrants. Okay.
So talking about executive orders, how many did Biden sign on the first day in office?
I'm not saying that executive,
Going opposite of what the previous
no,
administration was doing.
I am saying that if we are talking about this issue, we're talking about asylum seeking and the loophole you found, that loophole is embedded in law. In order to close it, you need to change the law. Presidents can do executive orders. There are a lot of things they can do through it. Biden, Trump, Obama, all presidents sign a lot of executive orders. I was saying that the problem here needs to be solved through legislation, and we have bipartisan legislation that was crafted that would do that. And that's what needs to be passed because that's not a fix to the whole system, but it's a fix to the most immediate problems we're having. And that's just it's a problem. It's a loophole in the law. You need to use the
Hold on, Dave.
law.
I got to. Sorry, I got to cut you off. I got to read this one comment and get to the next topic. Um, Brian says, "I am tired of hearing people that want to talk about how we can take people who are fleeing for a better life and how fast can we kick them out of here by labeling them all raiders, murderers, and rapists. I have been robbed, beaten, mugged, assaulted, and it was always by an American citizen." All right, Brian. Well, I'm not laughing that that happened to you, Brian. I'm just, I didn't expect that comment. All right, our next question. Okay.
Economy.
No, I like to do economy when we have an actual economist on because actually hearing people politically argue about the economy
No,
makes my head explode.
because I wanted to see how the same argument that Davey had for immigration, how he will have to, accommodate to the economy.
Okay,
But
I got you, but
okay,
we
we'll do
also
it
have
another time.
I got you. No, we may get to that, but we have a fan base we gotta appeal to. The next question was because there were a lot of questions, so I had to pick three. Was what president will be better on foreign policy? The things that were said bad about both presidents are, in terms of Harris, many world leaders are going to take advantage of her inexperience. People feel that Putin would have not invaded Ukraine if Donald Trump was president, but once Biden was president, Putin invaded Ukraine. Dave, I know you're going to love that because you're the Ukraine expert on the channel. In terms of Donald Trump, it has been noted and documented from Kremlin documents from Putin, from Kim Jong Un, and other dictators that they can manipulate Trump because all they have to do is stroke his ego. They've been on record saying these things before. So there are many people that feel both of them will be weak in foreign policy, but of course, people are going to think one is going to be stronger than the other. So let's talk about foreign policy. Dave, I really want to touch on this Ukraine thing because that comes up on TikTok a lot. Putin wouldn't have invaded Ukraine if Donald Trump was president. So you go ahead and respond.
I went first last time. Cello
Okay,
was
I'm sorry,
ready.
Cello. Cello, go ahead.
Let's
Yeah.
let him.
So
Who's
I
big
would
on
like
foreign
to
policy?
yeah, I would like to to respond that question. So I want to remind everybody of a episode when Kamala Harris went to Poland and she was asked a question, and who had to respond the question? The president of Poland. And what did she say? A friend in need is a friend in need. So that is all I needed to hear from a prospective runner for a presidency in foreign politics.
Huh?
When she went to Korea, South Korea, and she didn't know whether she was in South or North Korea. Now it could be that she got
Wait,
confused.
hold on. Cello, I never pause people. We have to stop that because that was a made up thing that wasn't real. So I don't want to misspeak things
Okay,
on the
okay.
channel. Yeah.
Take that away. But the Poland
Mhm.
incident, it happened. I don't even know how the even the conservative media forgot about it. It's not, but that happened. So how can somebody, and I'm not talking about her as a person. I'm talking about when she had to respond to questions. She didn't even know what she had to say, and the president of Poland. I mean, I remember this incident because it happened like a year, 2 years ago, when she had to go somewhere instead of Biden going, and it's amazing. So it's a joke. And then, well, you see what she's responding, because finally she got to get interviewed, but only by friendly media. The way she responds to questions which she's not in the teleprompter about, for example, Israel. And this is recent. This is yesterday or the day before. So I don't trust. Now, you could tell me that Trump, the way he did what he did, uh, it may not be the best way, the best form, but whether you like it or not, and you can go into the assuming we didn't have any wars during those 4 years.
Huh?
We didn't have any wars. There were no wars.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Afghanistan.
Ukraine, Russia and Ukraine was not, in war. The, uh, you just said it.
Wait, no. But that it's not that. I don't disagree with you with that part of saying the war that started in Ukraine didn't happen under Trump. It's the verbiage that you just said of there were no wars. That's the part that my eyeball almost.
Yeah.
Were you trying to say that there weren't any wars that started? Is that what you were trying to say?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Well, so military intelligence will tell you when we use that rhetoric. I don't want to say rhetoric. Rhetoric sounds bad. That's always disingenuous, no matter who's president, because wars aren't always labeled as boots on ground. For instance, the amount of started drone strikes in combat areas under the Trump administration was almost double that, triple that of the Obama administration. The drone attacks during the Biden administration were down. Now, is that attributed to Joe Biden? No, because I've said it millions of times on this channel. Just because something is happening during one presidency doesn't mean it's that president's victory
He
or
didn't even
that
know.
president's defeat. But Dave, go ahead.
Well, a couple of things. One, if I don't even understand what that comment with the Polish guy, Polish president, I
But
don't
you were
understand what that
Googling.
meant.
You were getting
Um,
stats. Why don't you Google it while we talk?
well, no, because that's one
You want me
statement,
to do it
one
for
time.
you?
I'm
I
going to
can
tell
Google
you,
and send it to you.
no, fine.
Wait,
That
who's googling
but
stats?
if
Me
she
or you?
blunders once, great.
Oh,
And
go ahead.
apparently she misspoke a couple times. If we're going to talk about blunders, we can just look at Trump, who doesn't know what cities he's in at his rallies half the time. He constantly misspeaks. And so, that's okay. We can do that. But I'm going to tell you, when it comes to Kamala Harris, I saw her commenting after she met with Netanyahu. And I felt that, and Trump likes to bring this up. He likes to say, oh, she wasn't there when Netanyahu had a speech, and because she was at another thing. But she did go and she did meet with Netanyahu, and she came out after talking to Netanyahu and made a statement. And if you see the whole statement, it's only about a minute and a half long. She said, hey, look, she talked about Israel, and her statement started with October 7th. She unequivocally said Hamas conducted horrific terrorist attacks. She unequivocally said Hamas is a terrorist organization. She then went in to express her support and U.S. support for Israel and its right to defend itself and to take its actions. She then said, we also are concerned with the loss of civilian life, and we are very concerned about that. And then she went and said, what we are also interested in is a ceasefire. We want a ceasefire agreement that returns the hostages. And she then goes to talk about the American hostages and she said, we want the American hostages back. And then she named every single one of them. And then she goes to say, and I can't name them, but she then goes to say, and we want the remains of hostages killed back. And she named every one of them. And then she warned off Iraq. And I watched that statement and I said, this is perhaps one of the most perfect statements by a government official on foreign policy that I've ever seen. So, when it counts, when she comes out, if we want to, talk about gas, when it counts, she comes out and she's on target. And so I don't see this. And the Trump administration, Trump says the world is laughing at us. He's the president who was literally laughed at on several occasions by world leaders. He is known to be easily manipulated by other countries, especially by uh, these
Russia,
dictators.
Russia, Russia.
No, it's
Well,
not.
Saudi
Russia, Russia,
Arabia
Russia.
and other countries. He also, we saw in the debates, we saw Kamala Harris trigger him, right? She gave a master class in how to put him off balance, manipulate him by bringing up crowd size, all these other things. She put him on the back foot continually. So she showed that when it comes, and she's not on a teleprompter then, she is interacting with him on stage. We saw on live TV her doing that. And the biggest problem I have with Trump, his ego has to be stroked, right? Whenever he interacts with people, if you say nice things to him, right? Send him love letters, right? Kim Jong Un, who he starts out calling Rocket Man, and then he gets all these flowery letters and communications from him, and he goes out and says, "Oh, I'm getting love letters. It's wonderful." That he likes that guy, right? The thing is that dictators can do that. Dictators have the freedom in their country to go and be transactional, to do what they need to do to get what they want internationally. Democratic leaders what they have to do is they have to be seen as standing up for what their populations, what their voters want. And so the big problem is not just that the dictators can manipulate Trump, but that when he goes to other countries, democratic leaders will have to stand up to him, right? They're going to have to
Hold on,
be
Dave.
critical of him. They're going to have to say things
Dave,
that are
Dave,
going to
I gotta.
their independence, and they piss them off.
All right,
And
Dave.
so,
Dave,
yes,
I'm gonna cut you off. I'm sorry. I gotta cut you off. I'm sorry. Um, just like I have to cut you off. I'm sorry. I have to get to three comments and then we'll get back to this. Uh, I'm not gonna read every name because some of y'all's names are inappropriate. Dave, you are blocked. Not you, Dave. I don't care if you don't like what Cello's saying or what Dave's saying. We don't do the name calling that you're doing, so you're blocked. Marcus, Marcus says, I cannot vote for Beefy Harris. This whole conversation is a joke. The Democratic Party has never done anything. My life is always better when a Republican president has been in office. The economy is always better. Jason says, let's not talk about Kamala Harris in South Korea. I need my president to understand that the UK and London are two different things, and there's a difference between weather and climate. I also require my president to be smarter than me. Okay, Jason. Mark says, if Joe Biden wasn't sufficient to run this country, why would I think the VP is going to do an even better job? This is a total disgrace, a sham, and a disaster. Trump 2020. That's the wrong year, Jason, but it's 2024. It's not
The,
2023.
the, the main the main reason the main reason
Wait, I got
that
one more. There's
people,
one more comment. Hold up. There's one more
uh,
comment. Number 4. Hey, I like the start of this debate. It started out very civil, but now it's getting a little chippy. Come on, guys. You guys are putting out some good information, but can we stick to specifics and not generic terms? Moderator, do a better job. Hey, I'm letting these two people talk, okay? All right, I'll do a better job. So we're going specifics from now on, okay? All right. Uh, did you want to say something, Cello, and then Dave respond? You were going to say something, Cello?
I thought so, but I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry, my bad. I just had to get
That's all right.
people's
That's all right.
comments in. There's
I have
hundreds
to
of them
I
on
have
Twitch.
to I have to rehearse more like Kamala.
You're supposed to rehearse. I don't understand what that comment means. So that's the one thing I think people get really upset with, and I'm not calling you a Trump supporter, Cello, is the person who's been widely the most disrespectful presidential candidate in the history of presidential candidates always wants to be respected. Oh, and here's the comment. So Julie says, I live in North Carolina, and it sickened me the other night watching Fox News, and President Trump would say the government hasn't been here. No one's been here for days. There were people stationed here where I am before the hurricane even hit. And on the first day after the storm cleared, we were getting assistance. So and that's been even the governor had to come out and say this is not true. So I think what a lot of people so two people are fed up. There are people that are fed up with the VP Harris because they say that she's going to continue on all the failures of Biden. That's their opinion. There are people that are fed up with Trump in this chat saying, I don't understand how people support a person who keeps lying and saying things that every time it's fact checked, it's wrong, but they still blindly believe it. So those are the two biggest, when I'm looking at all the comments, those are the two biggest things. They don't believe the VP is going to do an even better job than Biden because they keep saying she didn't do anything the 4 years she was in as if she was president, but she's the VP. So she's attached to that administration. And with Donald Trump, their biggest issue is the lies, just the making up of stories, and then people just run with it. Your response to those comments?
So I remember what I was going to say. I was going to say that the only reason why there was not a democratic process in choosing who will replace Biden is because she would inherit the money and the delegates that Biden had previously. Otherwise, if you really want to do it right, there should have been, an open, what do you call it, an open primary to know who the candidate should be once Biden was pushed out. So I agree with those that say that they can't believe that the BP is running and so forth when Biden did what he did during these 4 years. I agree. I don't think there are potentially other better candidates, including RFK Jr. That was until a few months ago. He was part of the Democratic Party. So why didn't they let RFK, fight for his uh, candidacy?
Cherise states that every time someone backs Harris, they give specifics. Every time someone backs Trump, they give generic terms that have been regurgitated, such as the same immigration rhetoric and the same foreign policy rhetoric.
What
Dave, go
what
ahead.
what what generic is the 20 million people illegal immigrant that came in the last
Yes,
three
that's not
years?
a real number. That's why
That's
economists and
not.
people
Yeah,
that work
that's
for
not even
immigration keep
close.
saying that's not a real number. That's a number. So what's
Okay,
happened
what's the
is
number? 10 million?
hold on.
11.
Even even if
11 million.
hold on. Even this is the problem that people are having. Even if it is 11 million, the problem is that someone will arbitrarily just throw out a number 32 million legal immigrants come in this country and everybody runs in it. And then when you find out it's 11, it's like, well, that's still a lot. Yeah, but that's also 20 million off the number that you had everyone believe. That's people's problem with the and not even I'm going to say Trump with the MAGA crowd. They just take a thing that's not a fact and they run with it, and there's no talking them off that horse. Even when you give, if you say 1 plus 1 is 2, they will say, in my opinion, it's 3. That was a comment that was said in the chat. That wasn't from me, even though I've used that before, and I think that person stole it from me. Dave, response.
To what?
You were gonna answer the previous question or respond to what Cello just said.
No,
He wasn't paying attention.
I don't think that it was talking about Kamala Harris and
Mhm.
the Democrat, and it was irrelevant to what we're talking about.
Okay, because we
So
were
let's
talking
go
about
on.
foreign policy. All right, so let's end with the last one: is which president is going to have? I'm sorry, which president is going to be better for the economy? Someone in the chat said every time my life has been better is when a Republican has been president. We've also talked about, hey, if you're doing better in your personal life, you'll perceive that as the administration. Because someone below said, no one that I know did good during the Biden administration. And KJ says, you might need to meet new people. Okay, KJ. So, which president do you think will be stronger for the economy? Someone else also pointed out that over I don't know if that's an accurate number, but it's close because I can't remember the number and I'll Google it. But over 68% of the people hired in the Trump administration, handpicked by Trump, all were either fired or left on their own or quit before the administration was completed. And most of the sources state their reason for leaving is he doesn't listen, basically. Dave.
Okay, I don't know what those things
No,
have
I
to
was
do with
reading the
that.
comments. So I
Uh,
was kind of there's like 100 comments on Twitch. So I'm kind of generalizing them where I'm saying the biggest fear with people in the chat that are saying they're not voting for BP Harris, it's tied to Biden. It looks like most of the comments are. And most of the comments that are from Trump
yeah,
is just like,
And it makes sense.
and some of them I don't want to bring up. Someone brought up the Epstein documentary on Hulu. I've already talked about that. I don't want a
yeah,
president that's uncomfortably grabbing an underage girl constantly and pulling him towards us.
right.
It's just there's just things. And people say, "Hey, Trump is going to be better for America." Who cares about all the crappy stuff he's done? And that's those people's opinions. So, Dave, let's talk about the economy.
My general view, and it's kind of a standard political scientist thing, is we say, look, presidents get blamed for the economy, but they have very little impact on them. And that generally, and you've brought this up on
Yeah, we
occasion.
had an economist on here, and she explained to people that we always blame the economy on the president. She's the one that broke it down and explained presidents have very little to do with the
Very
economy.
little
It's
impact.
just a talking point that people will use politically.
And the thing is, if you don't buy that and you want to link presidents with economy, then especially when we talk partisan wise, uh, the Republicans have had the recessions, right? George, the first Bush presidency ended on a recession. Bill Clinton ran on it's the economy stupid, became president, had nothing but great economic results, had a booming economy, worked
Well,
in a
that's because he hired an economist.
How
well,
about
he worked.
2008 Obama
Well,
with
no,
the
he didn't get to that one yet. But
Please let me finish.
that's because Clinton
It,
hired an economist. Yeah.
Clinton also he worked he's put a good economic team together, and he worked with Newt Gingrich before the whole Monica Lewinsky thing, and they freaking balanced the budget. Okay, so Clinton administration, we come out of that very happy. Going to the Bush administration, we have a recession, right? Under the Bush administration, we have a small one, and then the Bush administration ends in the Great Recession. The big, we even give it a name. It's the biggest recession since the Great Depression, and Obama comes in at the nadir of that, right? At the worst part of it. Obama comes in, we have the recovery, we have growth, and you know, we end up on a high. Trump comes in, we have COVID, right? I mean, things and by the way, if you look at the growth of the economy the last 2 years, or actually the last 4 years of the Obama administration, if you look at the line, it just goes straight to the Trump administration. The beginning of the Trump administration is a continuation of the economic recovery. Because again, I'm going to tell you that it doesn't really matter who the president is. What matters is the economic conditions that create business cycles and crashes. And, COVID, I can't blame Trump for that, right? And so we have this big crash. So the thing is, though, that the Biden administration comes in and it's got this dumpster fire of a global crisis that unprecedented, right, in history. So my thing is that, look, either you're going to say that the presidents have very little to do with it, at which case you can't blame Biden that much, or you're going to say that that presidents are responsible unequivocally for what they've got, at which point we have to look at it and go, well, all right, then we have all of these other presidents, the Republicans do a horrible job, right? That we have all these recessions under it. Also, I will say this about the Biden administration. We had a lot of inflation, and that inflation was driven by two things. One was the supply chain issue, and there's National Economic Bureau of Research has looked at it. The economists have looked at it, and they say we had two major drivers of inflation. One is the supply chain issues that came out of the COVID crisis, and the other was the rise in oil prices. And for oil prices, we absolutely this is a case where a president actually did something. Donald Trump made a series of, in his administration, he made two agreements with the Saudis. Earlier in his administration, he made an agreement he got them to agree to lower production, or excuse me, to increase production. First it goes up to bring down the price of fuel, which caused record numbers of U.S. drilling companies to go out of business. Then when COVID hit and the price of fuel dropped, he made an agreement with with Russia and and OPEC to restrict production. And he made an agreement that restricted production to raise the price. And that agreement was in effect all the way until the month before the invasion of Ukraine. He made a long-term agreement. So he actually very much contributed to the rise in gas prices that we had at the beginning of the Biden administration, because there were the agreement to restrict production and raise prices that he put in COVID was still in effect. And so that is a definite problem that he did to contribute long-term to the inflation that we've been suffering from.
Megan from Twitch
David,
said, "It is unfair, Dave. You are using factual evidence to back up your conversation." Oh, shut up, Megan. I read that wrong. I didn't know you were being a smartass. Go ahead, Cello.
no, David had to be, talking for like 5 minutes to justify that for the common people, for us, before Biden, even during COVID, inflation was 1.5. And then what is the inflation now? 3 after it got to 8%. Have you gone to the grocery store? Have you put gas in your car? So you go and go and go and give all these good words and explain that it's not Biden's, it's Trump and all that. But what happened to the common person, going to the grocery store, trying to save some money or even make it paycheck to paycheck, was during these last 4 years. Now, we could argue all night, whether that was the agreement that Trump did with the Saudis, whether it's the first day of Biden in the House, in the White House, signing executive orders to stop drilling in the U.S. So
He did not do that.
we became energy dependent. We can argue all day, but the bottom line is that you may be right in some of the things that you say, but I'm right in, I was laid off. I was one of the
Huh?
thousands, tens of thousands of millions of people that were laid off during these last 4 years, and I couldn't get back. So I had to end up, reinventing myself. And so is millions of people that I talk to in LinkedIn and other areas. Now there's no an official. No, they say, oh, a lot of new jobs were created. Now, how many of those jobs were jobs that were stopped during COVID and now they're recreated? Now, again, we can argue all night long about this. You may be right, I may be right, you may be wrong, I may be wrong. But the fact of the matter is that we were better 4 years ago when it comes to economy. There's no way to look for it.
Well,
And what surprises me, and I finish with this, is that, you know, I base credibility, especially in politicians, when they own their mistakes. And this administration has
whoa,
plenty of opportunities
whoa.
to say, okay, yeah, we this is the direction we want to go.
Oh my.
Climate change and change everybody to electric cars. Okay, I can disagree, but I can respect that. But if you're going too fast or you're making mistakes in the way, it's an opportunity for you to say, okay, we still believe this is the way to go, but there might be a better way to do it. Kamala Harris had yesterday another opportunity in like three interviews. She was asked, what would you do different than Joe Biden did during these 4 years? And she said, nothing. So you got to own. So if you want to be the change, so explain that, yeah, sometimes our intentions are this way, the way we actually do our homework and try to do it the best way, but sometimes things don't go our way. So we need to kind of change and, get the steering wheel and go. If we're going way to the left, we're going to crash with the cars that are coming the other way. The same thing if we're going too much to the right. So the best thing for now, and this is the beautiful thing about this country in all these years that I've been here, is that if there is an administration that is not doing the things the right way, thank God for the people of this beautiful country that they kind of say, okay, it's not about being a Democrat or a Republican. It's we need to fix this. We're going in the wrong direction. Then we will have time once we kind of fix the immediate problems. So then we can go long term. Whether you want to raise taxes, which I think is not the way to go, or you want to cut taxes, or whether you want to have guns or not have guns, but we have to be more in the middle. That's what the beauty of this country has been for many years, and I hope that's the same thing. Because I told you in the beginning, I'm coming from Argentina, and I've seen 80 years of somebody coming and breaking your legs so then they can give you crutches. So you have to be grateful for the crutches. Now, they don't need to break my leg.
What the
They
heck?
don't need to
What is
create all these
happening?
problems to then try to fix them. That's
All right,
all I have to say
three
about that.
comments, and Dave, those are mainly with you. Three comments. Tamala says, huh? That's her only response. We have an economist, Richard. Thank you for being on. Richard's been listening the whole time. I'm sorry, Richard. I told you we would get to the economy in the beginning so he could chime in. We've had a spot to him gone. Richard says inflation was at 2.1 on average, 2 points between 2016 and 2020. In 2021, it was 7. In 2022, it was 6.5. He said in 2023, it dropped to 3.4 and now is 2.5. So during the 2020, it averaged from 2020 until Biden was, I'm sorry, excuse me, the inflation was low, and then COVID, because of the world chain, and he explains a whole bunch of other stuff I can't read, it went up to 7 and has steadily gone down over that administration. So he said, in short, we cannot celebrate or blame presidents for things that happened during a global pandemic when inflation in the economy was affected over the entire world, all continents except for Antarctica. Okay, Dave.
Well, that was what I was saying. That it's hard to do. We had that inflation. We came out of COVID, and it's really about the supply chain problems that came out of that recession. And so this is my thing: is like, look, if you want to blame presidents, it one, you're running against the facts. And we have business cycles, we have problems, people do suffer. And whether or not you can make a credible argument that Biden did anything, there is no that I am not aware of any credible economic argument that actions on the part of Biden,
Oh,
the
what
people
happened?
that fight inflation are the Federal Reserve. That's the key thing.
Yes, that's what Franz was saying. As an economist, he said every economist, every credible economist will tell you if you start an economy argument with the president, you've lost them in the argument. That's what they always, that's the rule of an economist, he said. So there are things that we will attribute to presidents. Again, whether you hate someone, he says, I hate Donald Trump, but I cannot blame inflation on him. I can blame it on the global pandemic that affected the entire country. So that was his response to that. And then Marga, thank you for the donation, Marga. So I'm going to go ahead and read your comment because you donated. Am I frozen?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I'm frozen. Because we're going to wrap up here, guys. We've gone a little long, but that's what happens sometimes when you're debating. Um, Marla says stating the facts are the facts with them without them actually being the facts is insane. I am listening to incredibly smart people on here. I feel like both of you are incredibly smart. I heard your credentials in the beginning, but it is too easy to find factual information and not just blurt out what you feel is emotionally correct. I have done terrible during coincidentally during Republicans being in charge, but it has had nothing to do with the Republican being in charge. I just lost my job, and one of them I got fired because I was always late. So do I blame the Republican president because I lost my job? That's just from Marla. That wasn't directed towards any of you. That was her commenting because there's a lot of comments in the Twitch chat. So the consensus, guys, I forgot to put the poll up, but the consensus in the chat is it looks like all of you who are putting, because I put in the chat, put a T if you're voting for Trump, put a K if you're voting for Kamala, and Y, and most of the Kamala ones, again, looks like it's being attributed to this is Biden's problem, and the other ones that have voted for that put that they're not voting for Donald Trump has says they just don't trust the guy. It's too many lies, and every time he states something when it's fact checked, it's absolutely wrong. Not even a little bit wrong, but your English is messed up, but it's dramatically wrong. So that's their issue with Trump, and that's their issue with Kamala. So hey, we've got people in the chat not just going one way saying I'm going to vote for Kamala because such and such, and we don't have people that's just saying they're going to vote for Trump. So we've had arguments going back and forth in the Twitter chat. Some of them not so cordial and not so nice, but that's what's going to happen when feelings are involved with politics. But I'm going to sum it up with Parker's comment at the end. Hey everyone, let the facts be the facts and not let your opinions outweigh facts. And everybody, please look up specifics and not just use generic terms to solidate your argument. This is not directed towards anybody on the panel. This was directed towards the people in the chat. Stop calling Democrats a sheep when you blindly listen to what the Republican president is telling you, and stop being a blind sheep and listening to Republicans if you don't agree with what the Democrats are telling you. I think that's what they were kind of saying. The chat goes really fast. All right, everybody. Thank you, Cello. Thank you, Dave, for being on. Dave, I got to talk to you just really quick about next month. And it was good having two people from two different opinions on here to talk. I appreciate you guys. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Peace out.
The sky's the limit.